All right, Russ. We are live. Just bear with me, guys. While we set up, I just like to send it out to one more group if you don't mind waiting for 1 second. All right, I got the link. I'll talk myself through it and I will share it to the Correctional Officer Brotherhood. So hold on 1 second. Correctional Officer Brotherhood. There it is. And there we go. All right. What's up, Russ? Live Q&A for Terror Talk. It's been about a week or so. How's everything?
Oh, everything's great, Anthony. Doing great here. Just ready to take part in another discussion that I know nothing about beforehand, so I can't prepare in any manner whatsoever.
But that's the good thing. And guys, real quick, just want to tell you that we are sponsored by 3 entities. We have American Military University. If you guys are looking for a higher level of education, you want to seek that degree, please check out American Military University. It's a great online college, very supportive of what we do in corrections, supportive of what we do here on Tier Talk. And we also have Guardian RFID, from inmate tracking and cell checks to cloud-based businesses and artificial intelligence. Guardian RFID digitally transforms jails, prisons, and juvenile detention facilities of every size. Visit guardianrfid.com for more information. Guys, we do post content on Guardian RFID as well. So if you do get a chance, please check it out. They also have, as I said, a YouTube channel. And we also have Shea USA. Shea is the world's leading weapon, cell phone, and contraband detection system manufacturer for corrections. For more information, contact Joe Vasquez at 440-561-7615. He's a subject matter expert. He's passionate about our industry, and he will take good care of you. Tell him that Tier Talk sent you. And let's see what we got. Already questions coming in. We got Steve. Man, you all look great on camera. Yeah, I believe we do have a face for radio.
Did we pay him to say that?
Yeah, I paid him to say it. And then we got, okay, so the reason why we're going on is because of 616, because she wanted us to go live, or he wanted us to go live. So, and then we got, hey guys, from Pat, and hello. I was wondering if you must be vaccinated. Okay, so I guess we could start off with that one. I want me to go first on that one, Russ, because I'm living that right now. So
well,
yes,
you better go first. All I can say about that is in corrections and in this country, we've got 50 states. There's DC, there's the feds, and there's about 3,800 different counties. So there is no one answer.
Yeah, so for my state, you have to be vaccinated. We started the process, so it's tough. I have to get my booster, which I'll work on before May 12th. Hey, Sandy from Canada. So it's interesting. I wouldn't call their bluff on it. I'll tell you that right now. If they're telling you have to be vaccinated, you're going to have to make a choice. Either you're going to do it, or there's a chance they could remove you. So just be careful. A lot of these places are not bluffing. Now you know I'm a female, Ganji. Don't make me bust out the street cuffs. It's Cam. Oh, okay. Sorry. It's hard. 616 love could be any gender. I'm assuming. Even where about you from in America? I am from northern New Jersey. Russ is from somewhere in
Northern California.
Yeah, California.
Well, it's interesting because California, when you say north and south, they actually mean things.
Well, yeah. Jersey's a little tiny little thing. But guys, I just got word today that I will be the keynote speaker at the American Jail Association conference in Long Beach Island. Is that where I'm going?
I think you're going to Long Beach.
Oh, Long Beach. I'm going to Long Beach in California, and I think it's May 21st. So if you guys are out there, I will be there giving out the keynote at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Hey, what day does that fall on, Anthony?
Monday.
Okay, Monday. Dang.
Yeah, I'll be there the weekend though. I'm gonna go there the weekend.
I was gonna say I wanted to try and fly down there, but man, there's just no way for me to drive. That's a long ways in California.
Yeah, it is. It's a 7 or 8 hours. You said for you, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a tough drive. Oh, and 616 says, you can never forget you helped me rise above the gang history. Huh. Rise above the gang history. All right, 616, I give up. I'm hoping I did something good. Jesse, what's up? Congratulations on being the keynote. I appreciate that. Where's your beautiful sidekick tonight, Anthony? Oh, Rush, he's talking about Connie. Obviously, she doesn't think you're beautiful enough. He's right here, Sandy.
I'm beautiful.
Right here. Actually, Connie was going to come on with us. We came on a little too late. So Connie's got to go get some sleep because she has to get up and make sure that, you know, her daughter's ready for school. So see, we're still young and kicking. We like to kind of, you know, go to bed late, wake up early. Plus, I have off tomorrow, so I think that's pretty cool.
That's right. I'm young and kicking.
Yeah. Hey guys, keep the questions coming. We're just gonna we'll answer whatever questions come our way. Oh yeah, she's talking about Connie. We'll try to do a live one with her this week. We have a couple of discussions we want on top. Actually, you know what was funny? Me and Connie had a great discussion. What's up, Chris? On being micromanaged. You know, we were talking about micromanaged supervisors. And you know what I was going to ask you, Russ? So in corrections, guys, in case you don't know, guys, in corrections, you need staff that are empowered, that are willing to make decisions. One thing you don't want in corrections is staff that, you know, they're afraid to make decisions. They become hesitant. So one of the things that we were discussing the other day was that when you have good management that doesn't choose to micromanage, what they do is they delegate the what, but they push the decision down for the how. Does that make any sense to you, Russ?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, that's the difference between strategy and tactic. You know, one is what you want the outcome to be. The other is how you achieve it.
Yeah, by the way, hold on. My wife got me, I asked her for, oh, well, hold on. I told her to get me some coffee. We're live, babe. Wait, look. No. And, okay, I asked her. And then look, guys, Tear Talk mug. See that? I should have some.
Where's mine?
I know. Babe, this was supposed to be iced coffee. It's coffee with ice, but it's still hot. So yeah, guys. So, hey, babe. Hey, Jim, what's up? So what we're going to do is, even during this conference at AJA, there's a couple of things that we're going to try to discuss. We're going to discuss leadership. Manipulation is usually a thing that we discuss. Bridging the gap. Happy St. Patrick's Day from Idaho, from Jersey as well. But one of the things that I want to do, guys, is I want to bridge the gap. Right now, I feel that we have a lot of animosity. There's a lot of divide. And I think part of the legacy when I leave this profession is really going to be, how do we bridge the gap? If you guys ever notice, even when we do the training, our training is always in an effort to bring people together, because I want to wake up wanting to go to work on Monday. I love what I do. I love the interactions with the people that I work with. And I want to kind of see if there's a way that, you know, why doing this, if there's a way that we can build unity amongst all the different departments, amongst, you know, the different levels of the agency. And Russ, you know, we need that at this point, correct, Russ? We need to be working together instead of being divided. Would you agree?
Yeah, you know, the more we come together, the more that we, you know, try and understand everybody's own personal and professional viewpoint, the better off we're always going to be in actually, you know, stopping crimes, stopping critical incidents, and just keeping things, you know, safer and more secure in every facility that's out there.
Yeah, and guys, the more that we work together, the more of a united voice that we have when we do have concerns. Guys, you know that corrections is going to move forward. Right now, the changes that are occurring are, for many, it's going to look like it's a softer change. But having said that, guys, the way the momentum is going, it's going to happen. So what we need to do, guys, instead of us being the obstacle, we need to find a way to be a resource and be part of that change. Because I will tell you one thing, and guys, I'm not joking about this, the change is going to happen. So either we're going to be invested in that change and really make it beneficial for us all, or we are going to be left behind. And that's sad, because we will not be successful unless we're all working together. But having said that, the change is going to move forward with or without our input. So we have to make sure that we are truly talking in a united voice and basically making sure that we express our concerns as a family. And I know, Russ, you agree with that, right?
Yeah, that's what we have to do. Part of the problem with corrections has always been is they've managed to set up a bunch of little factions within especially the lower down, the closer to to where the fight actually happens between sets of people, and then by managing to do that, it just takes away from what we actually should be doing. And so, there's a lot of things that are potentially negative about corrections that we could fix. And one of those things is just simply not focusing on those negative aspects and trying to find ways to work together, trying to find ways to instill that sense of esprit de corps, not just at the bottom, but through the middle and out to the sides, where all of those nurses and teachers and doctors and educators and all those people are out there.
Yeah. By the way, I remember who Cam is now. Cam was one of the individuals that was following our show that actually made a very brave choice to change her life around. And bravo. I mean, the choices that she had to make were not simple choices, but she did what she had to do. And, having said that, guys, when you find that you have purpose, when you find that you have a reason to make a change, you do. And I want to tell you something, Cam. Now I remember who you are. I'm sure Connie, if she was here, she would have found some way to smack me virtually. I remember, and I'm so happy to actually know that things are going well, and you deserve all the best in life. You truly do. I'm so happy for you to, kind of be moving forward. I remember now. Granted, guys, we interact with a lot of individuals, so it's not that it's hard to remember everybody, but I do remember her. And I'm so happy for you. And she goes, I was just looking for the live to comment on. Yes, you know what? We're going to have to be doing this more often. Jim says, because of you guys and your support of me and letting me join in on some of your podcasts, I'm going to help in a presentation at our yearly conference. I get to speak a little bit about trafficking. Hey, guys, you know what? Jim Carpenter, he noticed something that is very unique that a lot of people may not realize. We have trafficking happening in our prisons and jails. There is recruitment going on. You do have women or even men in some cases that do get recruited inside the prison system for sex trafficking. And I want you to know there's a lot of people behind the wall trying to put an end to that. But they also have to show that it is something that's serious and needs to be invested in, because a lot of people tend to forget that even in the prison system, there are some people that are victims. And Carpenter has made it a mission of his to not just at the time his facility, but Carpenter went ahead and now looks like he's speaking at a higher level. So Carpenter, I mean, honestly, thank you for what you're doing, because that is a serious concern. I did work at a female facility, and I believe it was something that was happening, because you would have females that literally would get arrested just to recruit other females, that when they knew the other female was getting ready to leave, if they had no place to go, they would offer them connections, and later on, that female would be exploited through the sex trafficking market. So what you're doing right now is really needed work. Wouldn't you agree with that, Russ?
Yeah, what a great way to, step in. And, when you're talking about, we talk about, interdiction a lot, contraband and drugs and things like that. Anytime, you can get in at that base level and try and, turn it to our favor, get some of these women perhaps, telling about their experience and being able to point out who those individuals are and start running that up into the same people that are, running all of our gang units and things like that, to make them more aware. Back earlier on in my career, I attended a gang conference that we did down in Fresno, California. And it was, an eye-opening experience to have this district attorney come out there and talk about these particular gangs down there that were running. They were running guns, but they were also really big into prostitution. And it was just, rife with all of these different victims and so forth. And being able to make that available to these gang investigators, I mean, was key to actually, impacting some of that trafficking that was going on down there in that county.
Yeah, we had John Meekins that was working on that for a while, just in general with human sex trafficking. So I'm glad that Jim's also able to bring attention to it, even if it's facility by facility. Any life saved is a life saved. Hey, Eric asked a good question, so we're going to get the questions rolling. Do you believe that implicit bias training is important for correctional officers and staff? So go ahead, Russ. What do you got?
No.
Russ, you got to explain.
I think. Okay, so I'll go out. I'll go out there on the limb, and that implicit bias assumes that you're a horrible person. It's like, what if they wanted to give me training on, hey, you should not be a gun runner. All right. And I think it just, and then it puts out there a thing that's of a very political bent, because people are going to have, strong feelings about this. But in order to address the issue as they see it, they have to assume that everybody needs it. And to me, that's not the case. I think that they just do everyone a disservice by blowing the situation up and trying to, once again, as I just mentioned just a minute ago, talk about, putting people at odds with each other. That's not what we need to be doing. And I think that is exactly what that does. Probably one of my least favorite topics to talk about, though. But go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, I kind of have a little bit of an agreement with Russ, and I'll tell you why on this too. We all have, I guess we could say, implicit biases. I guess it is, but to automatically assume that controls how we do our job. The worst thing is once you put it into our head, it may affect us in doing our job. It may say, well, if we do this, how is the public? And it's like, guys, at one point, you're going to have to make a decision. And to be honest with you, when you have to make a decision, the decision is based on the moment itself, not based on the color of someone's skin or their nationality. And the last thing you want is for someone to put something in your head that instead of you looking at the emergency of the situation first, you're looking at the color of the person's skin. Having said, and it's true, guys, when you're dealing with an emergency situation, at the end of the day, we're in survival mode. That's it. And I have a right to protect myself, regardless of, who I'm going against. My life, my self-preservation comes into play. And having said that, I don't want to get caught up where my mind starts worrying more about the person who's hurting me than I am about myself or the person that's hurting someone else. So having said that, I think sometimes it also could create a hesitancy in which we're more worried about, we're more worried about dealing with the person because of their nationality or their color or their race, as opposed to, I'm in some shit right now. I need to save my life, and I got to do what I can to do that. So again, for me, I do my job in accordance with what needs to be done at that moment, and not based on anything outside of that. And again, that's just my opinion, guys, because in the end, guys, if it is an emergent situation, I don't even have time to see color. I don't have time to see race or, whatever it is. All I have to do is I want to survive. And the last thing you want is someone to be hesitant because they're going to pull the trigger, but they're worried that they're going to be judged because, they pulled the trigger and the person was of a different nationality. I think it can make people more hesitant, to be honest with you. And that's just my 2 cents as well. And guys, again, however you want to take it. By the way, I mean, if you know my show, you know what my show's about. All I'm asking is just to understand that sometimes, we do have another perspective, but it doesn't mean that we minimize or discredit anybody else's. That's just what our thoughts are. And I love that. Facebook said, going home, number 1, absolutely love you guys. Stay safe and healthy. I love that. Thank you, Facebook user. Hey, you all show support for this amazing life-changing channel. I love 616 Cam. I mean, I'm really feeling her today. Okay, so we got another question. I hope that answers your question, Eric, because that was a
Wait, can I say one more thing about that, Anthony, real quick?
Yeah, sure. Great question.
There's a group of people in high and powerful positions that somehow they've come to believe that we can just change or automatically get to whatever the optimum outcome is in any given situation. And that's completely untrue. We're given the situation, and do we hope for an optimum outcome? Of course we do, but the chances of actually having one almost never happens under circumstances like that. It's going to look horrible on video. People are going to say a lot of untrue things about it. It's going to be spun as a narrative for people to try and promulgate an agenda that has nothing to do with the situation. And who gets stuck cleaning up that mess? Well, me and Anthony and whoever else gets dragged into a situation like that. So don't fall for the stuff about the outcome could have been different, should have been different if we had more training or something like that, because almost all of the time that's simply not true.
Yeah, and Eric, I get it. I mean, it's a tough answer because it lies on extremes when I know there's a middle ground to it. And I think your question was great. And again, regardless of what side we stand on, I totally do respect your perspective as well, because I'm not saying that, obviously maybe there are some people that need it. I get it. I mean, again, but having said that, I like what this one person said here. Implicit bias is directed to, no, wait, where is it? Is that the one? No, there was one where it basically talked about, because in our field, in our profession, you got to realize that we deal with people that have done some very heinous crimes. So in our job to protect somebody, we protect sex offenders, child rapers. That's our job, and we jump in and do it. I mean, think about that. Everybody's talking about color, skin, and nationality, but here we are protecting people that have done the most heinous of crimes. So, having said that, sometimes noting that, because we here's what we do, guys. We don't really want to focus on what someone's done. We just kind of do the job because it has to be done. Now think about that. Now you're putting that in my head. Now you're saying, now you're making a bias maybe out of someone that may not have that. But with that said, either way, it's not an easy discussion to have. Because in my line of work, I never felt that I was biased in anything I've ever done throughout my profession. So therefore, being forced to take it could open up a window that, why do I need it open for? So it's just a great dialogue, and Eric, and phenomenal question, regardless of what side we stand on. As I said, I truly do respect the question. I also respect the person that it's coming from. All right, so except for Joe Pompano. Joe Pompano disagrees, but we know Joe. No, but I know what I get what he gets. But okay, Joe, whatever. Okay, so here we go again. So I'm a CO in Connecticut. I would like to know why in corrections the department now is going more towards rehabilitation instead of custody. Inmates are manipulating the system knowing this. Okay, so thanks 616. You can never see me being biased. So you want to go first with this, Russ? Because I know now. By the way, Russ, do me a favor with this. Talk about your journey a little bit from California, working in the prison system now, what you're doing now, and then we'll kind of complement each other. But this is a great question that I think we can really open up some eyes with.
Yeah, this is one of those things where there's different perspectives, and unfortunately, some people on both sides of that perspective don't necessarily or aren't necessarily able to see the perspective of the other side. What is it that we want to do with society? First of all, are we going to give second chances? Well, yeah, we probably should. Should we give 15, 16, 17 chances? Probably not. So where is it that we're able to maybe, spend some of that capital, spend some of those dollars to impact the arc of some people's lives? And by doing that to their lives, we're able to impact society better. It's a difficult question. There's not one easy answer for it. I've seen guys that, guys and gals both, that have come in and, been really hardened criminals with serious, mental issues and just completely antisocial personality dynamics, and they've managed to change. I've also seen people come in that weren't all that hardcore, and still they slip up time after time, victim after victim, maybe not so much serious stuff, but, they're out there, robbing people, taking stuff from their house. What do we do with those people? I mean, do we just absolutely sentence them to, hard time? probably that is the right answer, but nobody wants to do that. So here we are at this crossroads. I've worked everything now from death row all the way through to actually doing rehabilitation and reentry work, right? And what I'll tell you is there's problems on both sides of being absolutely too hard and never giving anyone a chance, to the other side where they just want to cut them a chance every single time and they never want to hold anybody accountable. If we are to have any say in the matter, we need to be at that table, and we need to be able to put what our observations are. The thing that I've learned most probably about the rehabilitation and reentry side is that some people on that side, no matter how good their hearts are, they're in it for that bit of ego and to serve the participant rather than the client. And what I mean by that, the client is the government, the county, the state, or whatever. And so they view their job as to help the person rather than to help the county, the government, whatever it is, backstop their investment in that, which is reentry and rehabilitation. And I think people get too caught up in that, seeing that person, this is going to sound horrible, as a person rather than as that participant. The person who needs the help should be issued the help, but instead of granting them endless opportunities, needs to cut that off at some point, or find some sanctions that work, or, if worse comes to worse, sentence them all the way back to prison again. So it's not easy. And I think that the worst part about it is being in the correctional field as long as I have, I see the amount of manipulation that goes on, in front of the judges, in front of, even the probation officers, who are usually pretty hardcore. Sometimes they get gamed a little bit just because they haven't seen it at the level that we do. Part of our problem, though, is our exposure makes us cynical toward everything that can be done. And so I think that we need to kind of look at that a little bit and think about what it is that we could possibly bring to the table. What does our experience allow us to see and teach others about what the needs of these criminogenic affected individuals, right? Be it their associates, their dependence on substances, their desire for, power, all of those things come into play. So I think that, there's no easy answers, but I think the worst thing that we can do is just, decide that, hey, these bunch of do-gooders over here, they don't really know what's going on. Because probably there's an element of honesty and truth in that, but that doesn't move the chains anywhere. Us not having a place at the table, us not being able to bring what we've learned to the table, it just ends up getting wasted. That's one of the reasons that I do what I do now is I have a belief that some of what I've learned should be passed on.
Yeah, and guys, I want to say something too. So the us versus them mentality, custody versus inmates, it's really not a good mentality to have, because we wind up having animosity towards the service providers who are there to help out with the mission. And by the way, help out with the vision. I mean, by the way, we're all connected. Whatever our mission is, we're connected to that greater vision. And I want to read something to you. So I have a daily reader that's coming out, and probably next year. But on March 3rd, I want to read, because this relates to the question, so bear with me, but I think it's going to make sense to you guys. It's called Working as One. Now, this is going to be in my daily reader. The date for this is going to be March 3rd. So daily reader is pretty much every day it's going to have a quote about corrections. I write about 300 words or something like that, and then someone else from the profession finishes it up with a 1 or 2 sentence quote. And this is what I have. I want to bear with you because it answers the question that the gentleman asked. Corrections has evolved, and with that evolution comes a new vision that centers around the importance of custody, working as one with the service providers. So we have social services, education, mental health, medical, religious, counselors, volunteers, etc. In this new vision, safety and security is partnered with rehabilitation. Basically, if corrections can be seen as a painting, safety and security is the blank canvas, that's the foundation, in which the creators of this newfound vision paints their masterpiece, which would be the rehabilitation. As the correction system moves forward in their efforts to embrace this newfound vision, the creators need to be mindful that this newfound vision cannot be done in an isolated fashion. Custody's mission, safety and security, is the backbone behind the work that will make this newfound vision to rehabilitate and transition the offender to the outside world a success. That means that custody's mission, as related to this newfound vision, is not just needed, it's essential. With that said, custody staff have to allow for their place to exist in this newfound vision. They have to see through their daily missions a connection, a defined purpose to the greater vision that details the partnership between safety and security and rehabilitation. Working as one team as a whole is the only true way corrections will find its success. The newfound vision is truly a picture of teamwork that showcases the end result of custody and service providers working together as one. At this point, staff must remember the correctional system cannot allow for the above vision to go unclear or for the vision to crumble. They need to know that they have to be all in, and with that said, there's no turning back. The greatest momentum moving forward can only occur when safety and security meet with rehabilitation. They both shake hands, accept their mission as a team, and go forward every day on their partnered excellence to evolve, make a difference, and keep the vision in play. That's from my end. And then I got a quote here from Connie Eileen. People do love our Connie. If we all operated from the fundamental premise that we need each other to achieve optimal functionality behind the wall, we would realize by working together, we polish each other. Now, guys, another quote I have in an earlier moment would be, earlier day is, be a resource, not an obstacle. But it's exactly what we just said, guys. We have to be invested in this change. If not, we will be left behind. So having said that, the momentum is there. Custody just has to find right now where they exist in that. Because, let me tell you something, guys, and we mentioned this before. Corrections is changing. We get it, right? So at first, the civilians came into our world and there was a bit of confusion going on. Like, what's happening here? What are we doing here? But custody always kind of, it's about safety and security. But eventually the civilians started navigating their way through. They started, developing programs, rehabilitation, programs that are cognitive, programs that are geared towards transitional services. And then eventually, here's what happened. When more focus went to what the civilians were doing, the programming side of things, custody started getting confused. What's our role now? What's happening to us? Why are we secondary? Guys, what we have to do really right now is, what do they got going on with the programming side? How do we help them accomplish that mission? Because having said that, guys, that's where it's going. So we need to make sure that we're that blank canvas, we're the foundation, but we have to find our place in this evolving world. If we do not find our place in this evolving world, we will be left behind. So the note right here, guys, right now, is that when you come to the table, you be a resource, not an obstacle, which means that if we're going to start moving forward, tell me how we can. And then if by chance you exhaust all efforts and you say, well, this is something we can't do, I can trust your no now because I know you're willing to give us everything you got. I mean, would you agree with that, Russ?
Yeah, I think that, if we want to be successful in what we're doing, we need to allow for these other viewpoints to come in and for some experimentation to take place. Now, don't get me wrong, it's only people that are, the hardcore among us that can, guarantee the safety of those trying to do this kind of work. The confusion comes about when these people are not cognizant of the actual jeopardy, the actual danger that they're in. This is why I really, I'm really, trying to root this thing about us moving from the position that we're in and giving it over to the youngsters who have to be as good as you were, and then us trying to take the lead and do some of this work, right? You people out there that are watching this right now, you are the leaders that we've been waiting for. All right? Make no mistake about that. You're going to be the ones that are going to be filling this void, taking the reins, and moving the chains forward, hopefully. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to impress upon you what my view of the whole situation is. And I know how critical it is to maintain that safety and security. I did it all those years. I still believe and know, more than just believe, I know that what I did is the backbone of the whole thing. You can't just, do away with the backbone and think it's going to function in any way whatsoever. There are some people out there that will try and sell you on that, and they're absolutely wrong. They have no clues to what it takes to run a safe, effective program.
Yeah, and guys, all because programs are in the facility doesn't mean inmates are going to jump up and grab it. I mean, that's another thing. I mean, they have to be properly motivated, but most of the time what happens is when it comes to programming is that, we have to get them something before they're released. So a lot of inmates, when they get towards their release, they know they got to take something, but not taking it for internal incentive. They're taking it for external incentive so they can get that release for parole. And therefore, it's like, well, at this point, do you really want it? Is the change really going to be effective? Hey, Eric said something. I heard Rusty personalize rehabilitation efforts by stating it's not about serving the needs of the offender. This perplexes me.
Right. Well, okay. Let me expound on that a little bit. What I mean is from the personal viewpoint of the person that's delivering the goods, right? Who is the actual client? The client is not the inmate, right? The client is the government entity that runs the prison, that runs the jail, that runs the program, or whatever it is, right? We are beholden to them. That is who should be holding us accountable. When we put ourselves in the position that, oh, I'm going to go there and my mission is to simply help this person, I'm going to be a helper, right? Then what we've done is we put ourselves in a position where we no longer want to require accountability from that individual, and just anything goes. And as long as we keep telling them, yeah, you know what, you slipped up this time, but next time you'll get it, which sometimes is valid, right? That not everything is hardcore, nor can it be if you're going to run that kind of a program. But what happens is we do have people over there whose hearts are good that just give these people endless chances and complete unaccountability for what they're actually achieving. And that's why one of the hardest things right now is we've had the courts here in California try and really defang, like, for instance, probation, right? Probation should be, armed to the teeth and ready to go. And when we say, hey, I can't hold this guy accountable, he is going to do methamphetamine no matter what I do. He's going to be ripping off Walmart and Lowe's no matter what I do. And now it's just kind of, okay, I'll go out there and we're going to go arrest him. And, in 2 or 3 hours, he's back out. So, that's not our fault, right? It's not the fault of probation. It's the fault of people that are voting in people that just think that they're doing all this great work by never holding people accountable. So what I'm trying to show you is what the paradigm should be, what the model should be for it. And there needs to be a heavy hand, but also a feathered touch.
Yeah, you know what? It's true, because I'm going to tell you something, guys. We are at a prison, so we're going to make all efforts 100% to move the person forward. I mean, that's what it's about. But you got to realize something. There's also a balance of what we're willing to forgive and tolerate, and what we have to hold the person accountable for, because rehabilitation is about accountability as well. Because at the end of the day, there is no true change unless they have to admit that they need the change. It's like when you have someone who does a heinous crime and, we think they're fully rehabilitated, and then they're still minimizing their crime by saying it was a mistake. I don't think they are fully rehabilitated. I don't think they've fully taken on the responsibility of the choices that they made and how that affected the family. Like, if you have let's say they took a life and you have a victim's family, I don't think it's fair to say that the person is taking 100% accountability when they say, well, I took that life, but it was a mistake. And when you're in that system, guys, it's going to be, we're going to focus on what you need to transition you. Yes. But part of that is you have to be held accountable for your behaviors. And there are going to be certain behaviors that we will not tolerate at this level. And I want to add something else that Russ mentioned too. We do work for a higher entity, which means that when you have people that come in, the volunteers, the service providers, they are held to strict guidelines that are really developed by the the authority in charge, whether it's the state agency, the sheriff's department, whatever it is. They are not going by what the needs of the inmates are to so much of a personal level that they're willing to make an unnecessary phone call for an inmate or mail a letter out for an inmate. No, it's about, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is what we're going to do. And this is based on what we are allowed to do. And if you have people going in thinking that, hey, I'm going to go in and really, help these inmates' needs and their wants, a lot of them will find themselves getting manipulated because at the end of the day is that they've been blurred. They don't know exactly where the boundary is, what is your prescribed role and what is it that you're really doing right now? Because the inmates will do whatever they can, especially to those who are going in to help, to manipulate that. If that person does not have that line that separates, that want to help within the boundaries of what it is I can do. Again, Russ.
Yeah. So to fill out a little bit more in answer to that question, I think it's just really important to see that, there is a set of people, out there. I mean, we all serve our ego, but if we're serving our ego in order to fuel that, oh, feel goodness, I helped this person, I helped this person, I helped this person. Those people tend to lose sight of what it really truly means to help somebody. Putting on the heavy hands, as it were, and reporting an incident to their probation officer, knowing that probation officer is going to go and arrest them for it, knowing that probation officer, when he hears, hey, that's the third time in the past 2 weeks this person has tested positive for methamphetamine, and there's nowhere in his rules and procedures and his terms and conditions. That's what I was looking for. That come down from the probation department. There's nowhere in there that's allowed, right? But what we're getting to now is we're getting the whole system is too soft, right?
Well,
the whole system
Russ,
is not recognizing that.
Yeah, but you're spot on, Russ, because I don't want to you said something that's key. Guys, in our effort to help, I get it, but help is different than enabling. You got to realize something. How we perceive helping someone is what they perceive as, I'm going to get what I want. Like, I remember there was a young lady that was on the show, not on the show, sorry, commented on one of the videos that we did about a family member who, I think it's her son, I forget, it's in the comments. I'm not putting out her business. She commented it. And that basically the son just kept on falling back into this drug use. And then she kept on helping him out. And she's like, what should I do? And I said, you have to get ready to cut the person off and be ready for the consequences. It just is what it is, because you're constantly helping them. It's enabling that behavior. There's no ifs and buts about it. So sometimes the reason why we help and we continue to enable is because we're not ready to deal with the consequences of, man, if I stop doing this, what is going to happen to that individual? Yeah, but the problem is if you don't stop, they're going to keep on doing it. So at one point, it's sad to say, because I know it's your loved ones, you roll the dice. With that said, look at what Russ said. Russ said, call the probation, and this is actually probably the safest route, and have the person arrested. So this way, when they go through this withdrawal, whatever it is that they're going through within a confined setting with all eyes on them. And something like, man, I can't believe you got your own loved one arrested. Guys, what were the options? The option was, I'm going to keep on enabling the individual, so they're going to keep on doing drugs, or do I make a stand and, and I'm going to tell you something. At the end of the day, you can't hate yourself for doing it. That's why when you make that stand, when you call that probation officer, or when you decide, what, I can't do it anymore, I got to cut you off, you have to be ready and okay with the outcome. Because either way, guys, even if you keep on enabling the individual, you could have a negative outcome with that. So you have to be able to say, hey, the basic answer is this. Am I going to continue to help you do what you do under the guise that I'm helping you as a person to get better, which I know I'm being manipulated right now, or am I going to take control of things right now? Because manipulation is a two-way street. Or am I going to take control right now and say the game's over? The game's over, and you have to be okay when you do that. And again, it's nothing's easy about what I said. There's nothing easy here about what I said. And I love what Aristotle said. It's a balance, accountability, and honesty to be willing to change. And then that's so spot on, because here's the thing, guys. If I'm making an effort to help someone, even the programs in the prison, We could be all out 100% in our effort, commitment 100%, but if the person is just using us, think about how much of a problem that can be. Imagine being on the other end. If I'm a manipulator and Russ comes in and wants to help me at 100% without any defined parameters, my job is I want to help Ganji 100%. And guess what? Ganji's a manipulator. So here Russ comes in wanting to be helped at by 100% or wanting to help me at 100%. And here I am. I got Russ, guys. I got him. Because Russ is not going to be doing things correctly because Russ is just want to help. And I'm going to see that. And what I'm going to see is going to take advantage. That's why you got to have that line. And in the prison setting, guys, in the prison setting, you have to balance help with accountability. If you do not balance help with accountability, you will fail. And the outcome of that could wind up with you in handcuffs, and you're going to be sitting there like, man, what happened? I was just here to help them. Yeah, that's why. All your focus was I'm going to help them without worrying about the parameters of what it really means to help them within the rules of what the agency wants. And I'm going to tell you something. Help is accountability. Get accountability first, get responsibility, and then when you help them based on the standards that are prescribed to your role. No ifs, ands, buts about it, no room to maneuver. Got a whole book on that.
Yes.
Great question, though. If that even was a question, I don't know. Hey, Russ, we got a lot of stuff coming in. 616 got a good question for you, but so does Eric's got another good question. I want to get to that, but there was somebody, I think it's Dan. Dan asked earlier, hey, guys, I'm attending the CDCR Academy next month. Can you talk about what to expect and how to make it?
Yeah, so the Academy, needless to say, has changed a lot since I went through it, but that's going to be there in Galt, California, right there on Twin Cities Road. It's going to be a great experience for you, though. I have no doubt. I think that I was in the very last Academy that we ended up, having to have our heads shaved and all that fun paramilitary stuff. The thing that I'll tell you about the Academy is, remember, it's only going to be a very basic framework for the things that you need to know and build on. There's going to be people in your Academy that are never going to progress very much beyond that. It's up to you to take that and ask for the training and to watch people and to learn and to an extent to teach yourself. The main thing that you want to do is you want to open your ears, right? And then you want to ask the most important questions that you can think of. You can't ask every question, right? That would be ridiculous. I know a lot of people say there are no stupid questions and stuff, but you know what? There are questions that are more important and more significant than others. So do that by all means. The second thing that I would tell you is push yourself, right? Push yourself physically, push yourself mentally. You know what? If you think, hey, you know what? I have this particular test licked, I'm probably going to score about 80 out of it, and 70 is good enough, or whatever the arbitrary number is. Don't settle for that. Try and get that 100%. And it's not about you competing with everybody else. It's about you competing with yourself. How do you want to see yourself as that officer that starts? How do you want to see yourself as that officer or sergeant or lieutenant or captain or warden or director that ends up at the end of your career after all of that stuff that you've learned? So either way, you can be a good officer for an entire career, or you can just as well, try and, reach the pinnacle of wherever you can pull yourself to. But it's all going to start with that, which is pushing yourself, right? And trying to learn and trying to take this particular part of the profession further than anyone else has. That's what I tried to do. I tried to be that officer who was, going to be the best officer I could be, with me as my own stern taskmaster, and hopefully I'd be, the best possible. Maybe I'd even be the best ever. And then I took it from there and I tried to be the best sergeant that I could be. And you know what? I struggled and I fell down and I came up short time and time again, just to kind of paraphrase Teddy Roosevelt a little bit, but marred by that sweat and blood and dust in the arena. I think I made a difference. I think that I was an impact player over those years. And I was proud of what I did in the end. And that's where you want to be. There's a lot of people that go into this and they see the paycheck, because in California, the paycheck is really, really good. And they see the benefits and the pension, and that's all they're in it for. And that's fine. That's fine. But don't you want to be that person that wakes up and is enthused about what you're doing in the morning, and wake up in the mirror and you're going to have challenges thrown at you, and you're going to meet those challenges, and you're going to rise, adapt, and overcome every single day? I mean, that's what I wanted. I'm not going to say I was that way every single day, because, sometimes corrections can really be that succubus of the soul, and it can really drain you. But there's other times that it gives back. And there's other times where you can make it give back, and you can be the one that wrestles as much as you can possibly get out of it. I've got some battle wounds, both physical and mental, over this. But in the end, I think that I am a better person than when I started. I would like to believe that very much. And so that's what I have to offer. I hope you're going to get the same thing out of it. As far as specifics about that academy, it's so different now. It's hard to say. But like I said, those two things: listen, ask, and push yourself.
Yeah, and guys at the academy, obviously, learn what they have, because that's going to give you a foundation to apply whatever it is you're going to learn at the facilities. I enjoyed the academy. I love what Russ said. I mean, I'm not in competition. I went in there and just kind of told myself I'm going to be the best I can be, which means that all I got to do is not worry about, competing with others, but rather worry about improvement every day. When I do a run, am I a second better the next day? I mean, can I do one more push-up the next day? And that's kind of what the academy looks for. If you're doing 25, let's say, push-ups the next day, can you give me 26? Can you give me 27? Can you give us a little more, each and every day? Because at the end of the day, I think in corrections, we just want people that don't quit. I mean, that's the key. And that really is with your heart. You're going to be hit with OC. Are you going to continue fighting? You're going to be exhausted. Are you going to continue running? That's what they're looking for. So don't quit. Don't quit on yourself. Just, okay, so you did 25 and the person next to you did 50. It doesn't matter. It's whatever your best is. And can you just try your best to go past it? Because in corrections, we do ask for 110%, but that 110% measures quality, not quantity. So I want you to know that. When you give 110%, it's given the quality of yourself, not quantity. All right. So 50 is not 110% for you. If 25 is, it is. But you have to give it, and you have to give it your all. But for me, I enjoyed the academy. And also, one other thing with that is try to find time to connect with your peers. I believe that the academy sets up this environment where instructors, I got a whole little blurb on this, but they do. The reason why they want you to hate the instructors at first is because it brings you guys together. That's the key, because you guys are going to be dealing with the same stresses, and it connects you. It's a similar experience that builds a bond. Take advantage of that. Trust me, later on, the instructors are going to get easy. They play their role, and eventually when you start to go through and they're pretty confident you guys are going to make it through, it becomes a wonderful environment. You see a different side of the instructors, and they really are good people, but they're going to play their role at first. They're rebuilding something. But in the end, don't forget to try to connect with the people that you're going to have to probably, risk your life one day to save. So whatever you can when you're in the academy, try your best to build a bond between the people that you're around. You're sharing that same similar experience, and that bond will travel with you for the rest of your career. Like Russ said, it's not about the money. Eventually, the money wears thin when you go through some of these situations that you're going to have to go through. So in the academy, or within the first years of your profession, find a purpose, find something that you can connect to, that connects to the vision, and then push yourself 100% to find that greater purpose to serve. And I'm going to tell you something. The money is great. Don't get me wrong, but that's not what's going to motivate you to respond to the shit you're going to see. It's not the money. It's going to be, that's my brother there. That's my sister there. And, we have this relationship, and they would do it for me. And I'm going to go in there. And that's what makes you not think twice. It becomes automatic. Because trust and believe, guys, when you're running into a code to save somebody, if you stop for a second, you may stop running. What motivates us is that's Rust in there. Fuck that. And you go right in. Or that's Ganji in there. Fuck that. I'm going right in. You don't think about it because that's my heart in there, and I'm going to go grab my heart. But that starts with that bond, and the bond does eventually should generalize to the people that wear the uniform. So again, usually when you have someone that's a cancer to the uniform, they got to get out of that uniform as quick as we can. We got to do whatever we can because the last thing you want is for that to become that negative generalization. We're connected to the love that we have for the people that wear the uniform, and the uniform is a reminder of the people that we love. But when you have someone that bastardizes uniform, it could make us hesitant. So we have to make sure that anytime someone bastardizes that uniform, we get them the hell out. Because that uniform is a reminder of my brother and sister that I'm going to go protect. So Russ, hey, 616 asked the question too. I thought was unique. So Russ, I don't know this actually, I forget, but I don't know if you worked death row or anything. For some reason, I'm thinking you did. So she wanted to know what was it like working death row.
Just imagine having to be around the worst possible people on earth, the ones with crime so heinous you can't avoid it, you can't help but knowing it. I had on some of the tiers that I worked, I had people like Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. I had Lawrence Bittaker. I mean, you name it. You know, I think I figured out
Russ,
one time.
How was it watching Al Capone?
First off, Al Capone was a federal prisoner, so he would have never come into the state.
Yeah, that was a bad joke.
But you know where I was, you know, these people, life to them was cheap. And you know, I'll tell it over again. I don't think everyone's heard this story, but it was my very first actual
Russ,
shift.
I'm going to step away for a second. I'll give you the solo layout for a show. Give me 1 second. I got my kids screaming. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
But run the show, Russ. Run the show.
So I'm running the show, people. But I'll tell you this, and I think that there's a lesson to be derived from this. But my first actual shift was in a place called North Block, and it was on the 6th tier. And the 6th tier was, you know, it was stunted off from the rest of everything. There was no fall. There was no, you know, big dips where you could look down and see below you. It's just quartered off from everything else. And we were in the midst of, there was a potential execution coming up of a guy named Robert Alton Harris, right? And so I was on this runway that was on the other side from the sergeant and this inmate Harris that was, you know, in his cell there. And I had the pistol on, and there were just little ports in all this mesh up there. And if something went wrong, you know, you could supposedly, you know, put the pistol in there and potentially end someone's life. So it's a sobering experience. My very, very first shift. And so anyway, I was listening to this sergeant, and he was talking to Robert Alton Harris, who was in his cell. And this guy, I didn't know from Adam, but he was just, you know, going on. He was talking about the people that he had helped before he had been sentenced, and, you know, the kind of things that he liked to do and how much he cared for people. And this went on. And I was just like fascinated. I thought, wow, this guy, he really must have got the shaft. You know, maybe he was wrongfully convicted. I don't know, but I'm going to have to look more into this, you know. And this sergeant, you know, he went on for quite a while. And then after a minute, he says, hey, walk down with me to the other end. And so I went on down there with him, and he goes, do you know why I was talking to him for so long? And I was like, well, no, not really. I guess just it's interesting that he's a convicted death row felon, and they might be ending his life soon. And he says, no, it's not really it. He says, I just wanted you to hear, you know, all the lies this guy told. I wanted you to hear, you know, how he could make himself seem, you know, sympathetic toward the cause. You know, he just had a bad time in life. He says, what I want you to take away from this is that you never forget that this guy and his brother kidnapped 2 teenage boys, stole their car, drove them out into the middle of nowhere, shot them both in the head so that they could use the car that they'd stolen in a bank robbery that they did later in that day. And he said, and then they went so far as to actually take the hamburgers that these kids had purchased and just go ahead and eat them as if nothing had happened. He says, that's how cheap life is to this guy. So he's not above telling a lie either. And man, I'll tell you what, that sunk so deep with me from that day forward. I always thought, you know what? I'm never going to put myself in a position where I feel that way again, where I think that, well, you know what? Maybe I should have some sympathy, not empathy, but maybe I should have some sympathy for this guy. That never happened again. I won't say never, but never to the degree where I was buying off into it like that. And so when you think about those guys that are on death row, it's a serious issue, and that was my first shift. But I always talk about the first day that I actually worked, not a shift, but rather a post. That was my first post. But we did an emergency search on my very first day there. And it was because an officer there had been handed a cup of coffee by another inmate. And when he pulled the coffee away, he took another cup and he poured it out. And there was a black piece of plastic down in this cup. And so had to pull the inmate out. And they went in there and they found out that this little black piece of plastic fit the security light screws in there. And to the best of my recollection, in the one inmate's cell, there were 7 steel shanks, and in the other security light, there were 5. And so this was an attempt to take over the entire unit, which was East Block. And there's literally hundreds and hundreds of death row inmates in there. And so you start to build this idea about what these guys can do to you. And, it's a hard thing to do because you know what? You got some stone cold killers in there. And then you got some guys that are just the most ignorant, stupid, and just really obnoxious people. And you wonder how they managed to live up to the time that they did whatever their horrendous crime was. So you have all of those. And then the last thing I'll mention about that is we had a guy in there named Richard Ramirez. He was also known as the Night Stalker. And, it was kind of fascinating in a way because all these women would write to him. Who are these women? And, I had to have a guy at that time because I wasn't savvy enough to figure it out myself, is that's the safest relationship that some of these women can ever have because he'll never get out. And so I think it was just a really long learning experience about the human condition and some of those things. And some of those things I would never, ever talk about in the open like this, because some of them are too heinous to mention. I'm sure that YouTube would completely pull this video if I went on to mention all the things that I saw and heard over the time I spent, on death row.
Let me read a quote from a Daniel Steele novel. Nothing's more sexier than a strange man standing over your bed watching you sleep. I'm kidding. It's not. I was thinking of the Night Stalker. All right. So, hey, guys. Sorry about that. Let me just go over one question. There's a lot of questions here, but I want to go over one real quick. I think we can speed through one real quick, and then got to get to Julie. But I also want to get to Alicia. She asked one, but real quick, what are disciplinary sanctions for death row inmates? Can I mention something real quick? Because I also do work in a maximum security facility. We motivate good behavior, not through a reward system, but through a punitive system. And what I mean by that is we take away as opposed to giving. Taking away actually motivates better behavior than rewarding an inmate on something that they, I never had this. So, when you take away something that affects their comfortability or lifestyle, it usually motivates better behavior. I'll give an example. A death row inmate acting foolish, I'll take away his TV. But I got the game. It doesn't matter. I'll take away your TV. So we find that for the higher level inmates, the inmates that, and most of the time they're not the problematic inmates anyway, to be honest with you. But having said that, those with longer term, actually, really, it doesn't matter what term, but for the most part, you motivate behavior by taking stuff away. No different than you would do for a kid. Trust me, it's the best way to motivate. And the problem is right now is that when the system starts to change, and they're making privileges rights, what they don't realize is you're messing with our ability to run an effective facility. Now you can't take away a TV. You can't take away video. Yeah, but guys, that's all we have. If you take that away, there's no way we can earn control. Well, you can reward them for this. No, I got a whole thing on that in my daily reader coming up. The prison system runs on a loss versus gain. It's loss. Take away, and then they could earn it back. And then hopefully when they earn it back, they don't. I mean, I give you an example right now. We have issues right now. Let's say you get an inmate that's acting up, and it's like, okay, well, let me see what I can do. There's sometimes where you could take the phone away for a serious amount of time, and then all of a sudden, after a couple of days, the inmate starts to want to call the family. It's like, okay, I'll give you one more chance at this, but you do it again, I'm going to continue to take away your phone. And they know what it is because they want to call that. They know what life is with it. But if you're going to reward them with something that they never had and they're not really accustomed to have it, you're not affecting their lifestyle. So technically, you're taking things away that mess with their comfortability of the time that they're spending behind the wall. Okay, Russ, I got a question for you, Russ. I
Wait,
know we both. Okay,
let me
okay.
finish up that. So just a little more on that. In the specifics, I don't know if it's the same way anymore, but I do believe it's pretty similar. Our death row inmates were separated in what they call grade A and grade B, right? The grade A had more privileges. They lived in a better unit for the most part. The grade B, generally, they were relegated to what's known as the adjustment center. There, if you haven't seen my video on Tier Talk on the adjustment center and the Black August attempted escape, you should go see that. But anyway, the adjustment center, not as many privileges. There's a lot of different things that they can do. They can potentially go from no contact visits to contact visits and vice versa. If they're, or I should say, really, the grade A's are allowed to have contact visits, the grade B's aren't. Things like that. There's also, like Anthony said, television sets, potentially phone calls, potentially number of visits, potentially yard time, that kind of
Commissary,
thing. What's that?
commissary, commissary.
Yeah, the amount of commissary that they're allowed to buy or not allowed to buy. So that's kind of the gist of it, and it is definitely based on that whole takeaway thing. They get to live in a certain thing. If they do so much time good, they can move across that barrier from grade B to grade A. If you really want to know more about it, look up whatever it says about the process for that in California Department of Corrections Title 15. I know it's changed a lot since ever I worked the row, but I believe it's still substantially similar.
Yeah, and guys, Alicia mentioned something that was pretty unique before we get to our question. Ever hear Dr. Williams April heard something he said today? Criminals don't think like you. You are that thing that stands between them and what they want. Guys, they're psychopaths, sociopaths, human beings, they're objects. Your value to them is no different than this water bottle. I'll destroy it and get somebody else.
Yeah, what she's saying there goes back to a thing that you might have heard me in some videos where I talk about, when we project what our values and morals and drivers are into someone else, we've made a huge tactical error. That person may not operate the same way we operate. They may be much more driven by things like the power orientation. They might be driven much more by drugs or who their affiliates are, those criminal associates. They want to look good in those people's eyes, not in the eyes of society. And that is technically, after all, what that antisocial personality disorder is all about. They have a different skewed view than society overall does.
Yeah, and guys, at the end of the day, they're how they value. There's just no empathy. That's the big thing. There's no empathy. They don't feel natural emotion. I'll be honest with you guys, and let me just mention this. People that are like real true sociopaths, psychopaths, they don't really populate the prison like people think they do. Not everyone locked up is sociopath or psychopath. Actually, the numbers are relatively small. I've seen killers cry watching a documentary, but then you get people like, let's say, a Midnight Stalker guy who just has no emotion. They just don't feel anything, and no matter what you do to try to explain how you feel, they don't get it. They've either been raised where they hide their emotions, where I guess for them maybe it's safer to the point where they don't even recognize emotion. A lot of us, we could look at someone crying and maybe pick up on it empathetically, and we start to feel that emotion. They don't even know how to recognize it, and it's funny because you can kind of tell because they act, and you can kind of see a sense of false sincerity. You sense it because if you're feeling it, and it's like, okay, well, this seems a little fake. But having said that, guys, they don't recognize emotion like we do. Now, Alicia asked is a good question. Hey, Russ, we got a lot of good questions that's coming in. So I want to run a few because a lot of them are going back to the CDCR.
Okay.
But, if you could bear with me, I want to get to this question from Alicia because I think it's a good question. How do you keep being around the worst in society from causing you to become hard and jaded from everyone or with everyone? I think that's a phenomenal question. I'll let me get it first and I'll get it after you.
It's really tough because we're put in a spot where we have to become hardened. We have to have that mental armor. We have to have that physical armor. We have to have that persona. We have to have that command presence. So then when we go from that and we transition and we go back home, then suddenly we're with our wife and our loved ones and our kids and our dog and everything, and suddenly we're supposed to be vulnerable. And by vulnerable, I mean open, where we're not guarded, where we're not in that position where we're trying to, project ourselves in a certain way. And so we send ourselves and our subconscious a lot of mixed signals. And so that's why, I hear people, they talk about all the time, well, you just leave that at the gate. That's impossible. That's a bunch of bunk, right? That's not the way people really function. So I just decided long ago that the way I was going to function is I was going to be a prison officer who also happened to be a husband at work. And then when I was home, I was going to be a husband who happened to be a prison officer, right? There's no distinct lines, but I tried to have an idea of the way I wanted to be at home, and I wanted to have a different idea of the way I wanted to be when I walked through those walls. And so to some extent, I was probably successful, and in others, probably not so successful. I think what we don't want to do is we don't want to lose our humanity, and we don't want to just be in a position where nothing affects us. I find myself more affected by things that happen today on a daily basis, even though I'm around a lot of those types of characters still, because for me, it's no longer a matter of keeping the peace. It's just a matter of, what? Someone else can deal with this knucklehead. I don't have the authority anymore. The badge is always on my heart, but it's no longer on my chest.
Hey guys, we've discussed this many times. I love what Russ said, kind of playing the primary role, but still knowing that secondary role exists, because there's no such thing as that light switch on and off. You can't, because eventually it gets confusing. Like, who am I now? And, or who am I 100%, so for me, what I always did was I just processed things in the moment, and what I mean by in the moment, hold on, let me be careful with that. I dealt with the issue as it occurred, but then I allowed myself, right after the issue was resolved, I gave myself a moment to breathe, make sure I was okay. And I remember the moment where I knew that I was okay, that the profession didn't get to me, because you really never know if it does, because it's slow and subtle. But what helps you through it, Alicia, is the fact that you got to know who you are going in. So for the person, there's a person asking about a psych eval. Julie, before we answer, this is going to touch into this. So I want you to listen to me on this, because it's important. It's going to play out with your interview. When you go into this profession, you have to know who you are 100%, because that's going to be your foundation throughout your whole career. So anytime you feel that there's a subtle shift, whatever it is, because they're very slow and very small at first, but it does add up in time, you always know that this is who you are. This is who you have to go back to. And you have to be intentional with your growth, because if you're not, and you don't have that North Star, you don't know what you should accept in that's going to help you grow and what not. So you have to go in with a purpose and a mission. Now, with that said, I remember an incident where, okay, I have over about 20 years now. But prior to that, here's a picture of me in uniform, guys. That's my sergeant days. That's a few years back. I haven't been a sergeant for around 7 years now, but I had an issue. One of our workers that did something foolish, could have been overly involved with an inmate. And obviously at that point, when you find out that happens, there's a distaste for that, because that's kind of like you chose a side, and in our profession, you don't want that, because when you choose that side, automatically in our mind thinks that you don't care about our lives, and we take it very personal. The issue with this one was I had invested time in this individual, so kind of mentored the person. And I actually thought that maybe at some point I could have done something a little bit more. But I was conflicted on this one, guys. I'll be honest with you, because I had invested time in the individual and I couldn't draw myself, I couldn't get myself to hate this individual for almost crossing that line, which, to be honest with you, when I was an officer and I was a sergeant, that's what we thought. You cross that line, it's done, it's over. And I remember I had to go serve the inmate. Sorry. The individual got caught up in the system, and I had to go serve the person charges. And as I'm driving there, I'm thinking, like, you know what? She crossed the line. I'm trying to have all this animosity, But at the time, I don't know if that's the profession telling me I have to do that, or if I really felt it. This is where it became confusing, or if I really felt it. And when I go in there, I see the individual. It goes right back to me seeing the person that was trying to help her get through, but she made some bad choices. She was a young kid. She got caught up. She would have gotten caught up with an inmate, but at the time it was for something else, but it was happening. And she was lost. I give her the paperwork. She didn't know what to do. And she called for me as I was leaving saying, what do I do? And at that point, some part of me is like, yo, let her go. She made this choice, and whatever it was, she chose a side. But then something in me was like, you can't leave this person hanging confused. So when I turned around and just simply told her, hey, you got to fill it out this way, blah, 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 I turned around as Anthony Ganji, somebody who would have thought of that moment for the rest of my life. And then when I went to the car, thinking about it, I was so happy with myself, because at the time it was about 18 years. I was like, holy shit, the profession didn't get to me. Because if it did, I would have left cold. I would have left cold, but I didn't allow it to get to me. And I turned around, and technically turning around wasn't so much for her. It was for me. It was, who am I? And I answered it. I'm still Anthony after 18 years in this profession. Because each time when I felt that I shifted from, who I needed to be, who I wanted to be in this profession, and who I was going in, I knew how to find myself. I was my own North Star. Going in, I did not go in with a blank slate. I was my own North Star. Listen, the uniform is secondary to who you are. That's the key. And you have to know that the only consistency that you have coming into this profession is you. And if you're not consistent with yourself, this profession will toss you around. But I will say this, though. I don't want, hey, Julie, we're going to kind of cross into your question right now. Anyway, hello, any tips or advice for the psych evaluation? Let me mention something, then Russ will go. And I just want to, my thought's going to cross into your question, by the way. But listen to this advice right now. Consistency matters in this profession, because consistency is what's going to build confidence and trust. What I mean by trust is also trust, not just how people perceive you, but trust in yourself, knowing that this is how I'm going to respond to the situations I am in, and this is how effective I'm going to be. But with that said, that moment to me said that after 20 years, or 18 at the time, this profession did not change me at all. And at this point here, I got 5 years left now? It won't. But it can if you allow it. Listen, there's going to be a lot of videos out there when you do your research coming in that are going to talk about how this profession could tear you apart, how it could rip you apart, and all this other stuff, and whatever it is. And all right, guys, it's a prison or a jail. There's an inherent risk in what we do. You have to know that going in. But it only gets to you if you don't take time to evaluate your experiences, make the effort to process your thoughts. There's nothing beautiful about the work we're going to do. It's a place that could have its extreme moments. And at any moment, you're going to be saying, like, what the hell did I get myself into? But you have to be able to process what you're going through, and then be comfortable with moving forward into the next moment, because that's the key. All we do literally right now is move from moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. But you don't want to do that like a robot. Once you get through when you can and there's time, you take a second and you go through the day. And what Russ said was perfect. Because let me tell you something right now. And this is how powerful what Russ said mattered to me. So sometimes the job may not allow you to go through each moment. I get it. You could be surrounded by people that have this persona that you have to be harder than you really are. And I disagree with that, but I get it. The peers, and sometimes we're afraid to be vulnerable around them because, if I saw I'm vulnerable, will they trust me? And they may kill themselves. How can I feel about that? I mean, should I be affected by it, or my peers going to make fun of me? And, but with that said, when you go home, the person that loves you the most sees you as a husband, or granted, whatever it is, just a comparison with what said, a husband, and then the prison worker, specifically in that order, which means that when that person talks to you, they're talking to you as you. And how is your day in uniform? Not, hey, Officer Hamilton, how can I help you? It has nothing to do with Officer Hamilton. So the cool thing about what Russ said is that when you're home, it's okay to talk to your loved one about what happened during your day if there's concerns. And the reason why is because your loved one is invested enough in you to help you through the day, to help you get through the next moment, because they're helping Russ. They're not helping Officer Russ, Sergeant Russ. They're helping Russ. But I will say this. If you don't allow for that communication to occur between you and your loved one, your change will be so slow, but you will be changing. And the problem is when you finally erupt, because you're holding it in for so long, when you finally erupt, your loved one can't help you because now you don't know who you are, and they sure as hell don't know who you are. So with that said, identify those subtle changes that are going to happen by knowing who you are. And I promise you, best advice I could give you right now, Julie, and I know Russ is going to want to go. I don't mean to ramble, but the best advice I can give you right now for that psyche vow, and just to take with you throughout your career, hold on to your core values. Hold on to everything that makes you you. Fight for it because nobody else will. And at the end of the 25 years, when you do your profession and you're done and you're completed, you're still you. So for the people that want to blame the profession for everything, I get it, because I get it. It's a tough profession. But there are some people that make it through because what they do is they take the time to process, admit vulnerability, and they move forward. And that's the courage. That's where courage is. Courage isn't denying the fact that you're vulnerable. Courage is admitting that you're vulnerable. So having said that, I will say this. The profession does get to you if you allow it. But if you decide to say, you know what? I know who I am, and I'm going to do what I can to make sure I stay who I am, and you fight for it with every tooth and nail that you got, the profession will not win. It will not win. Russ, what's your thoughts on that, Russ?
Yeah, it is a thing that you have to be constantly on your guard, not in the bad and guarded sense, but you have to be constantly on your guard as to what capacity you're acting in, the qua, as it were, right? What capacity are you acting in? Are you going home? Are you acting in the capacity of correctional officer or correctional Sergeant Hamilton? If you're doing that, you're going to have problems. No, you act in the capacity of that person that's yourself, of that person sitting across from you who knows who you are. You're acting in the capacity of yourself as being a husband, as being a wife, as being a father, as being an uncle, as being a guardian, right? It changes when you go into that prison setting. Are you then acting as a husband or a father? No, you're acting the part of the prison officer. So just, keep that in mind. But the two, they don't diverge. They're part and parcel the same. Just know what your capacity at the moment is.
Yeah, I like that. I believe you remain 100% professional. Just do your job to the best of your ability. It does not become personal. If you are fair but firm, you can sleep easily. And that's Todd. Todd's our boy. He's got a good quote in my upcoming Daily Reader. And by the way, all these things are mentioned in the Daily Reader. It's going to come out. I'm telling you guys. I'm very proud. It's hard work because I got to come up with 365 topics. But with that said, guys, I'm enjoying this journey, and I'm committed to it every day. Now, I just want to make sure we cover Julie's answer. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to get to that.
All right. So yeah, you want to start off first on that, Russ? It's about
Julie, this is a really easy thing. I'm going to tell you that right off the bat, the psych evaluation is probably going to be 2 or 3 parts. it's probably going to involve what's called the MMPI-2 or something very similar to it, which is the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory. And boy, that's a mouthful. But what they're looking for in that is they're looking for consistency. So the way to maintain consistency is to be truly honest, right? And so when you're being truly honest and you're going through this thing, they're going to ask you a bunch of different things in a bunch of different ways, and it's going to get really confusing. And since it's going to get confusing, if you bring out that honesty, you'll do the best that you can possibly do. If for some reason that goes wrong for you, that doesn't mean that you can't change your personality, that you can't make adjustments, that you might not have to come back for another bite at the apple. But I'm going to tell you, I've seen people try and do all kinds of things where they try and, gimmick the results, and you're supposed to answer this type of question one way and another. Don't do that. Be yourself, be honest, and most of the time you're going to do just fine. The second part of it is they are gonna come at you with probably some type of an interview, and that's just going to be a thing where you relate to them, your life experiences, what kind of a person you are, what kind of a person you think you can be for the department. And so you're going to have one of those puzzle house people pushing and prodding around inside your head and rendering to that department that hired him or her some sort of decision as to whether you make a suitable candidate. The fact that they're going that far with doing an actual psych evaluation, I say hurrah, because there's a lot of people that today it's just about a warm body. So it sounds to me like you're probably going to be in a pretty good, pretty solid department. Nah, it may or may not be true, but that's what I would go with, and that looks hopeful to me.
Yeah, and what I would have said, the same thing as Russ. Be consistent with your answers, because no matter how they switch it around, your answer should never change. And they will do that because they're looking for consistency. So they may ask you the same question multiple times, just in different ways. It's like, man, this is annoying. They're not. They're checking for consistency. And consistency does bring about honesty, but it also brings about confidence in yourself, because if you have nothing to hide and you're there, then you don't have to worry about stumbling up and building a layer of story after story. So, I mean, the best advice, again, for any psych exam is just be consistent with your answers, and consistency does really develop through honesty and confidence in what you're saying. And let's just say this too. I will say this too. When it comes to honesty, whatever you got to answer, put it out on the table. Let the chips fall where they may. Because sometimes we wind up judging ourselves a lot worse than they do. And that's going to come across. You're going to become hesitant. And, another thing about your answers during these psych tests, are you confident? So whatever the answer is, be honest with the answer. And as I said, don't judge yourself. Just get the answer out, because the biggest kick in the ass I've seen from people is not, oh man, I should have answered it this way, but I was so afraid they were going to judge me. It's more of, man, I should have told them the truth. That always seems to be the end result. So just tell them the truth and let the chips fall where they may, because if you don't tell them, they're going to discover it. So you might as well just get it out there. And at the end of the day, they can't say, hey, we found that you lacked honesty, because that's the key here. You got to leave these interviews knowing that they can trust you. And at this point, are you going to be an open book? If the question turns to a chapter that you have to open up to, you open up, and then you see where the chips fall. But again, play the role. If you really want it, show them that they can trust you. Hey, Russ, I got two. These are questions I wanted to get to. One is from T Chambers and one is from Blackjack 21. I want to, I can help with the first one, but the second one is more you, because it's a little bit more specific to your location. But for T Chambers, he asks, I'm interviewing for a CEO position tomorrow, by the way. Awesome. Well done. Not really sure what to expect. So you want to give any tips? I mean, the questions are usually,
okay, so there's going to be a series of questions, and some of them are going to deal with things like your past, specifically your past drug use, specifically your past acquaintances, meaning anybody that's a criminal in your family. Did you hang out with criminals on the street? Things like that. This is an assessment to judge what your moral character is, right? And so that's gonna be some of those. Then they're going to go into a few different areas that are going to deal with scenarios. One of those scenarios is going to be something along the lines, oh, you witness an officer strike an inmate that was in cuffs, or something like that. It's gonna involve that, and they're going to ask you what you would do in that situation. There's probably going to be another one that's going to involve critical thinking skills about some type of conflict that you're having with an inmate, right? And then beyond that, there's going to be some other ones that are going to possibly deal with some things like some bribery, or they're going to ask you whether or not you have it in your heart or not to shoot and kill an inmate if that's what's required, right? You have to be able to say, I will use lethal force if necessary. They may give you some type of lethal force or physical force scenario as well. And this is an attempt to gauge what your answers are going to be, to see what your decision-making process is like, and further than that, to just get an idea of the capacity you have to grow into this position. No one is born a correctional officer, right? So that's what they want to see. The thing that you can sell yourself on is how you can relate it to things that you've possibly done in real life, things that you've been able to step up and, take the bull by the horns and show them, hey, you have some practical life experience, even though it's not correctional experience. So if you go in there and you tell, well, yeah, I'm a really honest and hardworking, man, if you tell them something like that, you better immediately back it up with something that shows them an example, a real world example of what that means, because anyone can say those words, I wish that we had more time. You should, after this, immediately go to Tier Talk and check out anything that's on the interview process. I have one that's about 3 or 4 months back where Anthony ambushed me, not telling me he was going to ask me a whole series of questions that was like a real interview. And I aced it. And even though a lot of those were maybe more towards supervisory, you can still see the type of thing that you have to be able to put across to the table on the other side in order for them to consider you for the position. So that's basically it in a nutshell that you're going to have. And like I said, going from the personal stuff, the drug history, any crimes that you've committed, that you admitted to, that came up in your background, all those will be on the table.
Yeah, guys, if you do check Tier Talk interview process, we do have some good. There's one I also did with Soto that was pretty damn specific. I want to give one advice too, because Nish said transferable skills. Hey guys, if they ask you questions about situations that you may not have gone through in regards to specifically working in a prison, trust and believe. Try to find some ways where maybe your outside experience could relate to the prison world. I'll give you an example. A conflict at the workplace, between two inmates. How would you deal with it? Well, I've never worked around inmates before, but I remember a conflict between two employees. And as a manager, this is what I try to do. I try to de-escalate. I try to do this. I mean, basically what they're looking for is, are you going to take initiative? Are you going to take control? Are you going to try to bring things down? That's another thing. Or are you going to speak, raise things up? So they're looking for initiative. They're looking for control. They're looking for confidence. So remember, when you give out your answers, do that. And guys, there's also confidence in not knowing an answer, but understanding where the resources are. So again, if there's a question I don't know about the specific prison system, I would say, listen, I've been through situations like this at the other job. What I would do is I would go to my manager. I would ask my manager, what would I do during these things, or and that's the same thing as maybe an officer going to a sergeant. So if you have to bring them into your world to explain who you are, that's okay. I think that's perfectly fine, because again, that may be what I know. So you know what? I'll bring you into my world where I'm comfortable to show you who I am, because it's hard for you to express the best of you in a world that you've never been in. So sometimes when you're really confused about the answer, what are you going to do? Let me bring you into my world where I'm very familiar with my actions. I'm pretty consistent with that. So let me go ahead and express who I am on my terms. And then you can decide if who I am can be applied to this profession. You know, I mean, that's the key. And also, don't give them tangible, intangible, and whatever it is. Give them specifics. Oh, I'm dedicated. I'm this. I'm that. What does that mean? Tell me through action. When someone asked me, why should I pick you? I didn't say I'm dedicated. I said I went back to school, got my degree. I did this. I showed them action, and they could figure out what word defines that. That's their choice. That's on them. But I'm going to show you I'm committed through my actions. And by the way, guys, everybody that comes in for those interviews are committed. Your job is to show them the highest level of commitment, the highest level. Why should I pick you? Well, I don't know about everybody else, but this is what you're going to get from me. And when everybody else is giving them all these one word, dedicated, determined, blah, 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 you're telling them action. You're defining action. And I think that carries a lot of weight. Now, Russ, I've been wanting to get back to Blackjack 21 on this. Now, here's the thing. I believe when this person asked the question, usually you respond back, so I thought you were going to get to it, but you may have missed it. But it's, hey, Anthony, did you do research on the comment I made about a career advancement in CDCR as a CO that has no college?
Okay. Yeah, that's very specific. And so I'll caution you that some of those things may have changed. Going in as a correctional officer is great. It gives you an opportunity to branch off into some other things that are like when you hear the term correctional counselor, right? That's still a peace officer position inside California Department of Corrections, which requires either some college or some supervisory experience. At least that's the way it used to be. And I'm pretty sure that that's still the way it is now. I wouldn't I'm not real big on the whole college thing. I taught myself pretty much everything I know, how to write and how to speak and everything else. So for some people, it may be more important. Yeah, I know places are real big on seeing that piece of paper that says that, you did X, Y, and Z. How much that's going to serve you, I don't know. If you're thinking about doing some college along the lines when you're going in, I would get away from the whole criminal justice thing. Too many people have those. I would work on maybe something like business administration or something like that, because that's really where the effort is going to be. Other than that, it's really hard to guide, because it's been more than a few years now since I knew what all of those things were. It will probably always serve you in good stead if you can get some of those credits. One of the things about CDCR is that you're going to get a number of credits, and I'm not sure how many, but I think it's going to be about between 18 and 20 at, I believe it's Delta College. I think I still have my stuff there. So you're going to get about 18 to 20 credits for just doing the academy. So anything you do beyond that, try and take courses from there if you can. You can buttress that. Just see how it pans out. But if you just want to be a correctional officer and then a sergeant and then a lieutenant, I don't think that any of those require any additional. I could be speaking wrong, but I don't believe that any of those require any additional schooling per se, although the correctional counselor one does, but they will take experience in the supervisory positions in lieu of that.
Hey guys, by the way, congratulations to Matt72. He did promote up to an official jailer now. Matt is one of my heroes. I'm going to tell you the truth right now. I have seen his journey. I see the struggles. Matt. Yeah, we love you, Matt. Man, I've seen the journey. I've seen the struggle, but man, that he just always makes it on top.
Can I say something? Matt is so great, man. That guy, he is always encouraging me, because no matter what I post, he gives me the big thumbs up, man. And I love that, because it's like, sometimes we wonder if anybody has even seen the post. And man, I know that Matt at least is going to read it. And maybe it's a good post, maybe it's not, but I know that he's going to give me my due on it. So I love that guy for that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Matt. And hey, I want to mention something too. I don't know. I can tell you my experience, and maybe Russ could tell me if It's good advice. You know, maybe we'll do a whole episode, Russ, on you talking about the Midnight Stalker, because we have Alicia that's interested. So one day, or maybe I could just do the show for you.
What was
Just put you in my. Well, wait, I want to mention something. Can you share a crazy correction? Okay, we will. Hold on a second. Well, you know what? We'll do that. Let me mention something. I want to talk about the CDCR question. I want to add a thought. Hey, Russ, tell me if this applies, because my journey, I believe, could be similar to where Blackjack wants to head. So let me tell you a little something, whether it applies or not. Okay, so I started off as an officer. After 8 years, I did make rank. I did become a sergeant, transferred from a female facility to a maximum security prison for men. I was there for about a couple of years, and then I took a shot at trying for admin. So I was jumping up multiple levels. And at the time, I was a third shift supervisor. And lo and behold, I got the position on my first interview. Well, my first set of interviews, but my first attempt trying. Let's just do it that way, because there was 2 interviews. The bulk, and then filters out, and then they decide amongst what's left. So I did go to school, got my degree in psychology. I did get that because I knew that was something that they wanted. Plus, I wanted to have something on the table to prove that I was determined. And again, I don't believe in just saying the word. What are my actions? What have I done? So I will tell you this. And I think this is good advice. So you never know where this career could take you, because there are a lot of steps in corrections, lateral, promotional, staying within the same department, transferring out. You really never know what the opportunities are until you're really invested in the profession and you really get a chance to look around. And I will say this: don't go in right off the bat determined to follow one path just yet. Don't do that just yet. It's a career. You're going to make some moves. That should be good enough. But see what there is out there that you can really relate to. And by the way, you're not looking at position. You're looking at what you think you can truly love. Because having said that, you could be at the highest position and be miserable for 25 fucking years. You don't want that. You want to find something that you truly love and attack it. If you're going in just for the highest position, that doesn't mean you're going to be happy. Some people work at the highest position and they're miserable, but that's because all they wanted to do is go for high, want that authority, and they think with that authority comes greater influence. It doesn't, guys. Influence is all around. If you're looking to create change and influence, you could do that from any level of the organization, a 360 degree all the way around. You have to look for things that you feel are going to make you happy and where you feel you can have the greatest growth and worth and value of the bigger picture in your service to others. I will say that for me, I'm happy with my position. Even though I'm an admin, I'm second in charge of a maximum security prison, and I'm happy with my choices. But having said that, the reason why I'm happy is because it gives me opportunity to interact with people. To be honest with you, and I love interacting with people. I really do. So having said that, don't go in so worried about where you're going to be tomorrow, because you're going to lose out on the growth of today. So what you do is go in, see what's out there as you're going through. But do me a favor. Don't get so lost on where you want to be tomorrow that you lose the value in what you're doing today. I never lost value in today. And as I grew, I took opportunities as they came. Don't get me wrong, but I always stayed within the moment. The best value that you have in this profession, the biggest growth you'll ever have is staying within the moment and taking what you can. And eventually, I'm telling you something, you'll find your place and you'll be happy. But you may not know it until you give the profession a chance to show you what it has to offer. It's like going to college. You come in, I'm going to go in and I'm going to be a teacher and I'm going to do this. And all of a sudden you find out about these courses that you never knew existed. And it's like, well, wait a second. This whole time I wanted to be a teacher, but I didn't know you had this or I didn't know you had that. And now if I'm determined to stay as being a teacher, I'm going to be miserable because in the back of my mind, I knew there was always this. So all I'm saying is when you go in, look around first and then make a decision based on not the position and not authority, but what do you really want? What do you really want? Because one last thing, a lot of us go in thinking, what we can do for the profession. But as you start to move up, or you start to look at this as a career, you should ask yourself what this profession can do for you. And that's a little bit different. Trust and believe that's different, because it's not always going to mean the highest position. It's going to mean I'm happy doing this. I mean a lot of people that are frontline warriors that are happy with what they do. They don't want to move up. And it's not because they're lazy. They just found where they feel they're the happiest. So, always look around. And it's true. Hey, Russ, so here's what we're going to do, guys. Maybe tomorrow or something, depending on Russ's schedule, I will record Russ telling his Richard Ramirez story. We have Loco Video TV on here too. I don't know what that is. So here's what we'll do for Loco Video 2, as well as I think it's Alicia, because I'm a very big fan of Alicia too, by the way. Instead of us bum rushing that, I've never done this before, but I'm going to interview Russ on his quick dealings with the stalker of midnight. No, that's not right. With
okay, he's the Night Stalker. I wouldn't say that I had any more interaction than anyone else, but I did have a couple of things, and I had one of my buddies had asked him a question, and it was just so psychotic. Maybe we can fold another just good war story in there or something. I haven't told too many of those.
Well, when I retire in 5 years, I have dealt with some very high profile ones myself. I just can't talk about it because I'm still on the job, but I'll share you my stories. Always professional. I'm not going to embellish. I'll just share with some funny interactions that I had with some high profile inmates, whether they were female or male. I've dealt with a lot more high profile females because as an officer, I interacted with them more. So Russ, let's get down to a couple more questions and then we'll head out.
Okay.
There are a few good ones, Russ. So Alicia, we got you. Okay. So remember that we got you. I work for WellPath Contracted Medical Provider Company, and my first corrections job. The hard part is the manipulation from patients. Okay. All right. So wait, hold on, Russ. Wait. I'm going to let Russ go first, but I'm selfishly going to
get in the book.
There's this great
Shameless
book.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, there's this great book out there, Cali girl, called Inmate Manipulation Decoded. It's a good read.
Let me say something. Let me say something about Inmate Manipulation Decoded. I'm out there in the forums an awful lot. And, there's always, stories of guys, talking about, hey, what should I read? What should I get? And there's a couple of really good old standbys, one of which is Downing a Duck, and the other one of which is Games Criminals Play. So not everybody has heard of Anthony's book yet, but it is the modern equivalent of those. But being the modern equivalent, it's better, right? So this is a book that every correctional officer should read coming in. And more than that, everybody that comes in as a nurse, as a teacher, as a business administrator, whatever the case may be, should be reading this book, because this gives up game, and it's given up in a way that people can understand it, and that they don't necessarily have to have 27 years in the business to see how these things work. So it's an excellent book.
Hey Russ, I appreciate it, guys. If you want to hear some prison stories, the manipulation does relate to those. Alicia read my book too, and yeah, Alicia. What's funny is my book for a while was because I sold thousands of copies already, believe it or not. Go figure. And my next book is going to be my legacy book. I'm telling you guys, I'm so proud of this, but it's going to be a big book. It's going to be around 400 pages the way I'm going at it right now, but it's going to be hard copy, and I want it to look a certain way because I want it to be a daily reader that we can carry with us. And what we could do is I find myself referencing what I write already, or people could just have topic discussions. Hey, Russ, hey, I was reading this. What's your thoughts? And you could wind up talking about, stuff for hours on just one of the pages. But I bought your book, Anthony. Great book. I think it should be part of the training for new officers. I love this guy. He actually, I think this is.
How much did you pay him?
A couple of bucks. Hey, come on, Russ. That was we're still recording. I think I'm going to be seeing him in Long Beach. I think he's the gentleman that said so. If he's out there in Long Beach, let's go out for a drink together. Ganji, you're only in your mid. Oh, you're only in mid-30s. Wait, retire. No, guys, I retire in 5 years. That gives me 25 years, and I will be. I'll say my age after Russ does. Russ, what's your age?
58.
Oh, I am gonna be 45. My birthday's coming up in May. So oh, that's cool. Patty. Patty or Frank. The book's on Amazon. You can go to Amazon. Yeah, on Amazon. Thank you, 616. I appreciate that. Hey, I want to answer something with the nurse. Hey, I'm gonna give you something quick because listen to me. If you go to Tear Talk, go to a playlist. I got tons of videos on manipulation. If you email me at ganjianthony@yahoo.com, that's ganjianthony@yahoo.com, GANGI Anthony@yahoo.com, I will give you for free a link to my inmate manipulation course. It's about 2 hours and 10 minutes. It's pretty much a reference of the book, but it's got good material. And then you have the videos, which is a shitload of videos on my playlist. So 2 sources there. Email me. I'll give you the link because the link to the course is private, but I'll give it to you. And then I got a playlist of not just me speaking, guys, but when it comes to the playlist, the playlist for the inmate manipulation course is me speaking. But I have a playlist of just inmate manipulation videos. It's not just me. We're all going to put an insight on that, and it's really good stuff. But I'll give you one piece of advice to keep this one quick, Callie. And trust me, you're going to get a lot more from. We could do a whole video just on inmate manipulation one day. Maybe we'll have a live discussion and talk about inmate manipulation. But just to keep this one quick, as a good foundation, never let an inmate pull you out of your prescribed role. There's going to be many ways they're going to play the games to kind of make you forget who they are. Remember, even though they're a patient to you, have in the back of your mind, they're an inmate. You know, whenever you got to call them on paper, I get it, but never let them pull you out of your prescribed role, because the moment you do, for whatever reason it is, the moment they can get you to forget that the moment they can make you forget that you're a nurse is the moment that you're going to forget that they're an inmate. You know, so always protect that prescribed role and your position of authority over them. But having said that, you're a nurse anyway, so you have that professional standard. So I find it highly unlikely, the fact that you're even asking this question, that an inmate will ever be able to manipulate you, because you're going to have your guard always up. So the way that you ask the question goes to show me you're ready. You know, because they're going to play the game, but you're ready. You know what can happen. My biggest concern are people that are like, it'll never happen. Why read it? Guys, this isn't about the outcome. It's about the process. Yeah, when you look at it just as the end result, like, who the hell would bring in drugs for a minute? What a fool. Hey, but let's talk about how it happened. Because the person that happened, there was a good officer that made a bad decision and doesn't even know how they even got down that road. So that's what the book kind of explains, but you'll see that in the videos as well. So email me, and I'll tell you something. If you email me right now, as soon as the show's over, the playlist will be in your email within 2 minutes. I'll get right back. That's how important it is for me to get it to you, because you do need it. It is a career. So if you guys are in the profession right now and you want it, just email me, and I'll go ahead and send you the link. And then, as I said, there's also in my community playlist. Go to my channel, hit playlist, and I got 100 and something videos on inmate manipulation that are, I promise you, are unique. And it's like, holy shit, I didn't think about that. I want one more question, guys, before we go. I had one more here. Give me a second. Okay, guys, want to hear a funny story real quick while I look for this question? Somebody wants to hear crazy stories. I'll tell you something that's really stupid, but I think it's kind of funny. There was one more question I wanted to get to. I can't find it. Oh, email here, guys. I'll type out the email. Here it is, guys. I'm going to type it out in the comments. Hold on. And you guys, if you want to also email Russ, let me get Russ's email out there too. Hold on 1 second. Let me just, so guys, get your pen and paper ready, because here's the emails. If you want that manipulation course, it's free. It's yours. This is my email. So I'll just stand it there for a couple of seconds. And then, Russ, what's your email, Russ?
It's CUSTOS. That's Custos. Lupi, LUPI russ@gmail.com.
All right, guys. So
And if you
that's
want to
my
know what that
email.
means,
Yeah, I
you
do
know
want to
that
know. Okay, and there's Russ's email. Okay, so Russ, what does that mean?
keeper of wolves,
Oh, in what language?
Latin.
Oh, okay. There it goes. As you can tell in corrections, we run in a pack. So, guys, email us anytime you email me today. What I'm going to do, guys, because it is late, but if you do email me, I'll just send you the link. I may not put a whole blurb. So just say, hey, Ganji, send me the video or send me the playlist and I'll send it to you. I'll even send you the link for the YouTube playlist just in case you can't get it. Hey, I want to tell you guys a story real quick and then we'll answer one more question. So, guys, send me a question if you have one. Oh, okay. I did twice. Okay, so I got you guys. I'll get the. Hey, Russ. I want to share a story. And guys, if you have one more question, please ask. Oh, I have drug addicted son, and I think Anthony's book could help me interpret his lies and manipulation. You know what's funny? And by the way, it's brave that you put something like this because believe it or not, this is actually what helps people to kind of get advice. My book has had some areas where people have recognized certain things that their loved one is doing. My book was on parenting for some reason on Amazon, and then they finally pulled it off when they realized, like, hey, guys, this is dealing with inmates. But I want to share a funny story real quick. And guys, if you have one more question, ask now. But I want to share questions. I want to share some. So, I'm doing my rounds, and I do work in a maximum security prison. And I was dealing with a maximum security inmate, someone that has a few life sentences, and we're having this dialogue. And when there was dead air, I was waiting for a sergeant to come back. I had to, he had to get something from me, and I'm with the officer, and this person with 4 life sentences is right in front of me, just regular GP inmate, no issues, but just having a dialogue. But when the sergeant left, everything was quiet. So while it was quiet, I started whistling, just, whatever, just nonchalantly. And I started whistling. The officer comes up, he goes, Ganji. I was like, what's up, man? You're whispering, we don't talk about Bruno, which is from a Disney cartoon called Encanto. So I was like, man, we always talk about complacency with putting your hands in your pocket, but the new complacent thing now is whistling Disney songs, because you have 2 girls that are watching Encanto 20 million times a day. So I'm going to tell you something. This has been the milestone of my career. The other day, I whistled, we don't talk about Bruno in front of someone that has like 4 life sentences. You know what I mean? Right in front of me. But guys, I told you, I don't know. I just want to share. But all right, so see if we have any. There was a question, but I can't find it. Hey, Russ, you have any closing thoughts?
My main closing thought is this. It's always great to get out here. I love all the interaction and, people just, wanting to have their questions answered. And so, one of the things I've really dedicated myself toward is, trying to make myself available. So, anytime you can, flag me down, whether it's in a message, a text, or on Keepers of Chaos, if you're a corrections professional and you want to come over there, I'll do my best to try and find you an answer if I don't know it. So you know what? I think that's where, this whole thing about what we're providing to corrections, what we're providing more than to corrections, but to the individuals that are going to be involved in corrections for a career is going. And I just want to be accessible. I want to still be involved in the whole thing because I find it fascinating. I'm still involved in it at a different level in a different way. And so, anyone that thinks that they can, maybe get some value out of what I have to say, man, hit me up.
All right, now hold on. I'm sending out some emails right now because they did hit me up. So, Russ, do me a favor. While I send out these few emails, can you share a prison story? How about your last yeah, can you share one quick prison story while I send out these emails?
Sure, absolutely. Let me just dig back in my mind here for something that's interesting, maybe something that's deadly. I'll talk about I had this one, and it was kind of interesting. I was definitely got over on, but not in a big way, because I don't think anyone could have responded any other way to this one. But I was given the assignment for the day on the yard I was on to watch a brand new. He wasn't a cadet, but he was a brand new officer, and we were just kind of hanging out. And he started to wander away from me a little bit, and I don't know, he was like just like looking down at stuff on the ground or something. And I started to notice like this, it was what I call a sea change in my yard, you know. And it was just like, man, there was the wrong amount of energy, there was the wrong amount of people not talking, some people talking a little too much, people were looking, and they were starting to look all toward my direction. And I thought that I was about to maybe get hit or something, you know. And so I was trying to like signal this guy because I was wondering what was going on. And all of a sudden, like from the right of me, like 5 or 6 guys all at the same time yelled my last name, Hamilton. And I turned and craned my neck, and then I just sensed it, and I saw this complete, just people just running in all directions away from me. And this guy was standing right in front of me. He was maybe like 10, 12 feet away, maybe even a little bit closer. And he's just staring at me with this really puzzled look on his face. And I was just like looking at him because I couldn't figure out what had just happened. And then all of a sudden on his face, I saw part of his face start to open up. And then as it started to open up, it started to bleed. And it just opened up further and further down. And they had hit this guy with a razor blade in his neck, all the way up here, and then all the way down his chest and across his side. And just, he started bleeding out right in front of me. And they had obviously done a diversion so that the assailant wouldn't get identified by me, because the guy was right straight in front of me. And so immediately I blew my whistle and got on the radio kind of at the same time everything happening. I had lethal overhead, fortunately. Was able to watch over me. We kept a rifle up in what we called the bubble gun up there. It was a West Block yard. And got over there and started, you know, applying pressure to this guy's wound. But they'd hit him really deep, and they almost killed him in that instant. And so, but every story I tell, I try and find a takeaway. And the takeaway on this one for me is sometimes you can do things about something that happens, and sometimes you can't. And at that moment in time, I was destined for one of the few times in my career to have completely no power over a situation and to have no input in its real, you know, outcome or anything else. They decided that they were going to hit this guy. They decided that they were going to do a diversion on me. I'm probably very lucky that they didn't, you know, attack me and this other officer that was with me at that time. But it just goes to show you never know what's going to happen in prison. And so, you know, I always come back to that. Even though I wasn't technically complacent, you know, I turned just for an instant and they hit that guy. So just watch yourselves out there. You never know how things are going to unfold.
Yeah, and guys, what I'll do next time, I mean, I did send the emails out. There's some, you'll hear some stories in there throughout the emails, because I do share some stories with that. Now, if I may, and that's how fast things can happen. Thank God they didn't hit you, Russ. That's from Araceli. Oh wait, can't see the end of Russ Hamilton's description on here. Oh, guys, hold on. So Russ Hamilton is the founder of Keepers of Chaos. It's a hey Russ, sell it.
Okay, so founder of Keepers of Chaos. Keepers of Chaos is a Facebook group. We are comprised exclusively of corrections professionals. And of course, that means custody, but it also means non-custody. So I also, you know, I have nurses in there. I have teachers. I have, you know, all manner of people, even some of the plumbers and things like that work at the prison, that want to know more about staying safe, that want to know more about the history, that want to know more and see more of content, etc. I really believe it. We're getting ready to change the name slightly. It's still going to be Keepers of Chaos, but it's going to be Excellence in Corrections. Right now it's all about professionalism, but I think Excellence in Corrections more encapsulates that. So that's my little concern on Facebook right there, is Keepers of Chaos with a K.
Hey, I will tell you something, guys. Some of you guys ask questions. I actually find myself going to my daily reader. I cannot wait to get this daily reader out. I really do, because there's so many, all these questions here, guys. You never know. They're being answered on this. Hey, Russ. Before we go, Kelsey asked us a question. I would like to attack, because I like Kelsey. She's from Duty Ron, and she asked us very good questions. She was on the last show as well. Kelsey, Alicia. There's a few of them that have traveled over. And I would like to see if we can answer Kelsey's question before we go, and I'll have you answer it first, if you don't mind, Russ. It's a great question. Hey, Marcus, I sent you the video too, guys. The money team on point again tonight. I really appreciate I love you guys. I mean, I love you guys. I wish. By the way, as I said, I am speaking at the AJA conference in California. I got Masca in Atlantic City. I got Wisconsin coming up. There's one more. New York, Buffalo, New York. Whatever I can do. I'm still on the job, so I only have so much time. Shit, that's a good idea from Alicia, Rush. We should think about that. A daily reader app. Hey, Alicia, if you have any idea on that, email me and Russ on that. I'd love to hear your ideas on that because, once this book is done, I don't want to use these thoughts because I want this book to go out in the market, but I would love to do that. Any information, guys, even in corrections, guys, it's not about making money. It's about getting the information out there so you can save lives. I want to answer Kelsey's question real quick because I think this is going to be a good question to answer. And Kelsey, thanks for asking it. I really do appreciate you on this. And welcome to today's show. You're a little late, Kelsey. A little late. But we'll answer the question here. I want you to know, Kelsey, we're getting ready to go. And then you come in and asking this question. It's like when I get ready to leave work and all of a sudden someone hits me with something at 10 to 4. That's exactly what you did just now. Hey, Russ, how do you know if corrections is right for you?
That is a really good question. I think maybe I can only relate that back to the way that I found out it was right for me is by actually maybe getting involved in it. I think it's harder than that though, because, so many people would be really keyed up about, just signing on the dotted line and deciding that they're going to go work in a prison. It's a hard thing to do. It's scary. There's no doubt about that. I think that you have to decide, what kind of a person you are. But more than that, you have to kind of decide, who is the person that you can be. I stepped off into corrections at a really, really super difficult time in my life. And it was just, we had, a really tragic death in my immediate family. And 6 weeks later, I found myself in the academy. I'd already gone through 18 months of background and everything else. And so I didn't really know exactly what to expect. I just knew that I was going to choose this as my career. I think I probably did it with some blinders on because I just decided this is what I was going to do. There was some pretty good money in it. I knew that they were going to, give me some training in the academy. And that first year out of the academy, I really, really struggled. I mean, it was difficult dealing with, these really hardened criminals and death row and just everything that was going on. But you know what? I kind of kept my nose to the grindstone. I tried to learn some things. I tried to model some, not necessarily my approaches, but the way I wanted to be, the things that I wanted to accomplish after some really good, competent officers, especially about, getting in there and finding things and interrupting contraband. And then I got to the point where I wanted to be, better at going hands-on because there was a lot of that back in the day, and I got better at that. And then one day I remember that, just something happened. And it was something that I had put together on the yard where I ended up intercepting 5 weapons at one time. And it was kind of the culmination of some, good hard work and some intuition that I put in. And oh my gosh, man, it was suddenly like, the scales fell off and I could see. And I said, you know what? This is what I want to do with the rest of my life. Because it was exciting and it was terrifying. And suddenly, somehow, I had developed an ability in the profession. I had, started to hone my skills. And I just really felt like, I want to be putting myself on the line doing this each and every day. And, the more time went on and the more things happened, I started to be pretty successful. And it was a real difference and a real change from that first year where I really struggled. And I'll never forget, we had this one thing happen out there, and it was out on the West Block yard again, the same place where the other one that I talked about happened, where this counselor had passed out a clipboard, and the clipboard had, the big wires that run over, and it came back with both of those missing. And my poor lieutenant, he was just about, apoplectic about it, and he says, can you get this back for me? And I said, yeah, give me a minute. And I arranged it where I posted some guys up at the door, and I had them in full view start patting inmates down. And they realized that everyone was going to get patted down coming in from that yard, all 400 inmates. And I quietly snuck around to the back, and I got in there, and there was all these, cardboard lunch boxes. And about the third one that I kicked, I heard that metal ring, and I brought it back in, and it was Lieutenant Graham. And he says, this is why I asked you to do this, because I knew you would accomplish it. And from that moment on, it was like there was no thoughts of any other work. For me, it was from corrections from then on.
All right, so for me, it's a calling, but I do want to attack that question, but I want to actually comment on something that Alicia said. So I am going to have to shelve it because I'm going to lose my battery soon. But I want to, I'm going to keep following your channel, but what kind of jobs can you get with a criminal justice degree? If you already have the criminal justice degree, any law enforcement job would work. Parole, probation, corrections, you can probably find yourself moving up into the administrative level. If you haven't gotten the degree and you're thinking about getting the degree, I would try for something different because it seems to be a degree that's very popular. So I would try for something a little bit different. But if you do have it, state police could be an option. I mean, anything with law enforcement will definitely be an option with a 4-year bachelor's degree in criminal justice. But counseling, parole does have counselors. Some of them do have criminal justice degrees. And yes, but if you want to be a teacher, you minimal, because it's going to be college level, minimal masters. If you can go all the way, get your doctorate. I want to read something, if you don't mind. Alicia said something real quick, and I would like to end on this. Alicia mentioned a word to me that hits home with me. A good mentor in life makes a huge difference, no matter the situation. In my opinion, you guys are making an impact, and I want to explain something. So, Alicia, this hits home. So I want to read something. Before I do, in my daily reader, this is my favorite one. And the reason why is this is personal to me because I've mentored 2 people so far. I mean, granted, when I mean mentor, yes, we've done stuff, we do videos. I mean, but literally next to this person, walking them through and how valuable the relationship was. So I'm going to read you my words real quick. And these words are from my reader. It's March 4th. But this is how important it is, or how much I value mentors. I think it's something very important. But if you guys bear with me, because it hit home, and if you guys are busy, I get it. I just want to read it, and then if you guys have to sign off, I get it. I just want to get this thought out there. It's March 4th. That's going to be the day of it. Discovering a mentor. Being a mentor is an investment of time, commitment that is centered around the growth and development of 2 people, the mentor and the mentee. In corrections, having a mentor as a pillar of guidance to help navigate a new hire through this profession is truly invaluable. For me, a mentor in corrections is a person who can help cultivate someone's personal and professional growth around a defined purpose that aligns the profession to perfectly match the mentee's greatest potential. A great mentor doesn't just teach, but rather they guide the mentee by using their own evaluated experiences that have been further defined by their own personal successes and failures throughout their career, more importantly, even their lives. For me, a mentor-mentee relationship isn't found, but rather discovered. The label of mentor-mentee doesn't exist without the proper history and investment of time that establishes the trust, which eventually builds and elevates the relationship between the 2. For the mentor, can they trust that their investment of time in this potential mentee will serve a greater purpose? More importantly, can the mentor establish value in the life of the mentee? For the mentee, can they trust the guidance of the mentor? Can they trust in the willingness to invest time and help them reach their greatest potential. I enjoyed my time as being both the mentor and the mentee. As a mentor, I have found true value in the sharing of my personal and professional experiences, the sharing of my understanding of why we do what we do in corrections, and ultimately creating my legacy that hopefully lives on long after I have left the profession. As a mentee, I was fascinated by the experiences of others. I found true value in understanding the journey of others, understanding their personal and professional growth, and in return, utilizing their stories, their experiences to achieve my highest potential. The greatest impact that can be created in this profession is when we, as mentors, stand alongside the staff in need, guide them through moments of ambiguity, cultivate their growth in an honest attempt to help them reach their greatest potential, and just being there for them. In short, a mentor mentee relationship defines the true meaning behind the phrase, I am my brother and sister's keeper. Now, that was my quote. I have a one sentence quote from Officer Bobby Grossman at the end, who's was a correctional officer for the Bergen County Sheriff's Department. And he wraps it up by saying, I stand on the shoulders of those who trained me, and I reach back to help and train those behind me. Alicia, that hits home because I found my value, literally my value comes from the people I help. Being a mentor, that goes way beyond being a training officer. Being a mentor is an investment in time in someone else. That's just a beautiful relationship between two people helping each other grow through shared experiences and the value they have for each other. And I would advise anybody in corrections. And guys, it's not something that you find. It's developed through time when you talk to people and you share time and you share value. And sometimes the mentoring begins before you even know it has, because it's just a development of time that you just build this beautiful relationship. But guys, I will say this, and I'll have Russ, I don't know if he agrees, but I'm sure he will, is you got to have one because it's evergreen. You'll remember it for the rest of your life. And it's just a great way to, leave a legacy behind, because in the end, the impact we make is being remembered. So that was good, Alicia. I appreciate that. I'm a big fan of that. So, and Russ, would you agree? Mentor and mentee. I mean, you have a whole page on Keepers of Chaos that does it for free.
Yeah, absolutely. It's growing in this profession, can take your entire career, and it should in that respect. But you know what? There's ways that we can take a lot of, and I mean this in the best way, good, solid shortcuts to get that growth in, to, put yourself ahead of the curve, before you normally would. We've talked many times on this show about the whole sink or swim thing and how that doesn't serve anyone. It just, creates a bunch of animosity, and it just makes a person reticent to seek out those people that he should be seeking knowledge, expertise, and skill sets from. When we go out there and we purposefully try and put those forth to people and they're receptive, there's nothing like it, right? That's what I attempted to do with a majority of my career. There was a time on my yard where, the cadets, they were coming in every 3 or 4 weeks, bunches of them. And I was taking them under my wing and trying to show them a few tips and tricks, things with safety, things with reading yards, things with reading gangs. And, I've been told by some of them that have come and hunted me up since and said, hey, that made a big difference, because before they were just kind of throwing us to the wolves out there, and it was kind of up to us to take away whatever particular lesson was learned or not learned that day. So, that's what we have to do in this profession if we want to make people safer and more enthusiastic overall about actually serving in this profession.
Yeah. And by the way, Patty's from duty, Ron. So I apologize, Patty. I love you. Hey, one last thing. In my close, I'm going to close on this. It's just a wonderful thing. You, Connie, I'm going to add Russ to this, if you don't mind, Cam. But you, Connie, and Russ mentored me without knowing. So for that, I am forever grateful. Helped me see the light when no light was shining. And the funny thing is, I ended this. The light was shining from within. All you had to do was look down and see it from your heart. I mean, that's the key. And guys, to be honest with you, to even do this, what we're doing now, to share our stories, and create value, create connections. 18 people, 1,000 people. It really doesn't matter about the number. What matters in the end is, did I provide value to at least one person? That's it. Do you find value with what we shared, and do you find application in what it is that we're trying to get across? Think about this, guys, before we go. There are people right now that are getting ready to start their career, their interview process, whatever it is, and they're coming to us to seek advice. And then when they go out in their interview, they're going to apply that. And one day they may become administrators, or they may become, directors or whatever it is. For people that do research this, I know people say, well, sky's the limit for them. No, guys, for them, sky is where they start. Sky is where they begin their journey. And, you're a part of that. All of us in this community is a part of that, because there's dialogue happening on the side here where you're answering each other's questions, and you don't know how much that's going to impact that person in the moment when they need it. So I don't know. I've been doing this for so many years. It just never gets old. Russ does. I do. Gary York does. Connie doesn't, for some reason. Connie just doesn't. But having said that, I know that, again, just being somber in it all, but this is where my value will be. Will be the fact that when my day comes and I'm getting ready to say goodbye in this world, I'm going to know that I've done something. And that's all that matters. Not that I want to say goodbye yet. Still got 2 girls that I got to, and then we'll get to Loco video. Next time we go live, Loco, we'll get to your questions. We'll get to you first. And remember this, best prison movie, most realistic prison movie. So we can end on this. For Russ, what was yours?
The one I would pick, Blood In, Blood Out, also became later known as Bound by Honor, because I got to see it actually filmed at San Quentin State Prison.
I have 2. I like the humanity of The Green Mile. I like how Tom Hanks played that the correctional officer. I think there's a lot of those officers out there that the public doesn't know. Yes, we do have the asshole fire starters, but they're not like what you guys think. We don't have many of them, but they exist. But I like how he portrayed the one officer that he played. And of course, even though it's from an inmate perspective, I did like Shawshank Redemption, but I don't like how they portrayed the officers. But I really do feel that Green Mile has a very good, Green Mile is awesome. I agree, Loco. I think it played us well. I learned so much from you 3. Thank you. Off my rookie apprenticeship in 3 weeks, 13 years to go. Congratulations, Tommy. One step closer, man. Good luck. And I'm glad that you find value in what we do. I appreciate that. As always, guys, thank you, Patty, from Duty Ron, Alicia, Duty Ron, Cam, everybody. Love you guys. Russ, thank you for coming on. And maybe we'll do a live maybe tomorrow.
Maybe.
See what we're doing. And if Russ has any more bottles of vinegar, I'm sure we can get one off.
I got to go drink another one right now.
Oh, my God. All right, guys. Russ is full with nothing but piss and vinegar, literally. All right.
It's in my nature.
It's your nature. I'll see you later, guys. Take care, guys. God bless.
Bye-bye.